These animals are intelligent. These animals are adaptable. These animals are going to respond to the pressure and the things that you do on the landscape. They're going to adapt to it, evade it, and they're going to get more and more sneaky about how they avoid you. You can also implement non-lethal control techniques. For example, when I go onto a ranch and I'm doing a site visit and somebody's asking me, what can I do on my hunting property to reduce or eliminate the wild pigs? One of the first things that I'm going to say is, well, how many game feeders do you have on this property? And a lot of times the answer is quite a few. And my next question is usually, hey, are any of these feeders excluded? And usually the answer is, well, you know, this hunter decided to, and this hunter decided to, but we have probably 10, 12 feeders that are not excluded, and half of them are up against the creek and the stream that runs through our property. Well, this is going to create a magnet, a year-round magnet for wild pigs to constantly be utilizing this habitat, constantly be on this property, and not only that, constantly be reducing the carrying capacity of your land to support the native species like your white-tailed deer, like your turkeys, and your other species that you would rather have on your property than wild pigs. So we can take our non-lethal control strategies, such as exclusion fencing, and we can use those right off the bat to reduce the number of pigs that are on our property. And from there, what we can do is we can implement our population reduction methods. Now that we have no deer feeders or game feeders on our property where wild pigs can attain an easy meal, do you think that's going to make it more likely or less likely for wild pigs to visit your trap site, visit that baited corral trap that you've been baiting for a couple of weeks? And the answer is, particularly in times of low resource availability, you're going to experience a lot more trapping success when there's not 5 or 10 other free deer feeders or game feeders that these wild pigs can routinely access. In the off season, after deer season, it's a great time, particularly in times of low resource availability and low canopy cover, to implement that aerial gunning regimen, which can be highly effective at reducing populations. And so we're starting to see how this combined approach of our wild pig management tools, both lethal and non-lethal, can be selected as the right tool for the job at the right time to achieve our management goals. A lot of times our management goals are population reduction. A lot of times our management goals are damage reduction. For a lot of folks, damage reduction is just as good as population reduction, because let's face it, we have at least 2 million wild pigs in the state of Texas. They occupy every single county currently, with the exception of El Paso County in far west Texas. We want to do the best that we can on our properties, right? But we're not in charge of what our neighbor does. And a lot of times our property, no matter how good we do, it can be a vacuum for all the surrounding pigs around your property to be sucked into that property as you're implementing your control measures. So it's something that we have to be consistent with. It's something that's not going to go away most likely anytime soon. And it's something that we need to get our neighbors on board with as well. The reason being is that if we have one neighbor, two neighbor, maybe 3 of our neighbors on board, all of a sudden we have a larger area of control. A larger area of control where pigs can't get an easy meal because the feeders are excluded, where we are implementing corral trapping and aerial gunning, and not busting up that sounder because we're going after that boar or that big large sow at the education of the remaining pigs in that sounder, who are now more educated to avoid human disturbances and less likely to visit our trap sites and less likely to be had through additional control measures. We have to be able to tweak and refine and adapt our methods specific to our property and what works for us. What works in East Texas may not work way out far West Texas or North Texas or down on the coast. Pick systems and methods that work for you to achieve your management goals.